YouTube short edits have been really popular when it comes to superheroes. There's ones of Superman, Metro Man, Omni Man, and Super Scott. And I know what you're thinking. Who is Super Scott and where does he come from? Super Scott is the main antagonist from Hero Inside. And you're thinking, what is Hero Inside? Because I thought the exact same thing when I saw these super hard edits of Super Scott. Looking at this goofy haircut, seeing this character, did I think this show would be any good? No. As a guy in my 20s who grew up on Justice League, Teen Titans, Batman the Animated Series, I didn't think this show would even be that watchable. However, I gave it a watch and I was pleasantly surprised. So Hero Inside is about an author named Scott who wrote a bunch of comic books that never got published, and when you imagine these comic book characters, they could come to life. And the main character is a 13-year-old kid who discovers a Crying Man comic book. He imagines Crying Man coming to life and he discovers the power of imagination and comic books. So Mike has a best friend named Nick and a love interest named Lucy. Are these characters important? They're the main ones, but to be real with you, they're pretty formulaic. So you're thinking, what makes this show worth watching? And the answer is clearly Super Scott. Super Scott is a very interesting character. He is a comic book character who wants to come to life and does not want to be held in the shackles of a prisoner of a reader's imagination. So Super Scott wants to be free and he basically wants to take over the world. Super Scott, to an extent, is like a lesser Superman. He has super strength, super speed, super durability. So what makes Super Scott so special? If he's just a lesser version of Superman, Superman may be more powerful, but he does not have the aura of Super Scott. Super Scott blocked a bullet with his bare, white, shiny teeth. He dominated 5 clones and 4 other heroes, so he basically dominated a 1v9. He speed blitzed a guy who has lightning powers. Super Scott grabbed a lightning guy character, put him back into his comic book when he was summoned. That is the equivalent of grabbing a Pokemon, shoving him back into his Pokeball. He is also imagined by a grandma with dementia. So this actually nerfs him, which still makes him even cooler that he is by far the most powerful person in this universe despite being nerfed. And I'm not going to spoil the series too much because if you really want to watch it, you should watch it. But Super Scott is really what makes Hero Inside a special show. He's a very interesting character. He's well written. He's likable as a villain, similar to the way where you'd either want to watch Homelander to root against him or just to see what entertaining thing he does next. Super Scott is at that level and he really does make this show worth watching. It makes the premise of the show, imagining comic book characters, a lot better. It makes the formulaic characters like Mike, Lucy, Nick more interesting because they are going up against such a powerful comic book character. It is a show that is actually good. It is worth watching. And if you want to see a really good character like Super Scott, I would give Hero Inside a watch.